Abdulmumuni, we left off talking about, you said that the nation will need to move forward. Now, that was a halting stage. That was supposed to be a healing stage. Now, with what IBB has just admitted, it ought to help propel us into the healing stage. And I think one of the major problems we do have is we emphasize some of the things that divide us, which that election, June 12th election, was kind of a watershed, because he was accepted in military barracks, he was accepted in the north, he was accepted in the east, in the south, and the southwest. Now, as a people, listening to what IBB has said, how do we begin this pushing ourselves forward to rebuild the nation to reflect the kind of dream Abiola had?
Well, it's like I said, democracy, would only work if we engage with it, if we participate in a democracy. I think that's the core of my father's vision for Nigeria. He wanted to let Nigerian people know that the power was vested in them. Like I said, Abiola was the forefront, but there were millions of Nigerians who supported his ideas and his vision. In leadership, what you need to do as a leader, you don't necessarily need to move the whole table, but you need to convey the message that the table will look better on the other side of the room. But the way you convey that message is what is going to galvanize the people to do what they need to do, because the Nigerian people are the ones that are going to pick up the nation from where we are. So I think it's important that we understand the roles that we all play in this democracy and everything. There's a role for leadership, but there's also a role for people to participate into it, because the more people that are involved, the stronger the stronger you, because then you have like a collective of people working in the same direction. I think that's the most important thing. So for me, with Babangida's acknowledgement, even before his acknowledgement, I already knew my father had won, and I was working towards how we can make Nigeria a better place. And I believe that even His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, if you know, when he decided to run for presidency, his campaign manifesto was on renewed hope. There's the foundation of a renewed hope would have only come from hope, which was in 1993. Yeah. So, and he was also a pivotal member of that struggle too. So I'm sure as we move forward, knowing that Nigeria belongs to all of us, we can all talk about how, this happened, but that does not change our present situation. What we need to now look at is how we can say, yes, this had happened. We acknowledge it, but we don't dwell on it, and we use that energy to push us forward. There's something that my sister Hafsat said when I spoke to her yesterday about this whole event. And she said, if my father was hope, my mother was the embodiment of courage. So, and these are both bloods run through me, and so I for one just don't give up. I don't believe in that give up mentality, and I think my father also objectified that whole idea of if you know you're right, you keep pushing. And I think what we need to now do is encourage ourselves to get up. I know that things that might be a little bit shaky at the moment, but we need to think about a future that is bright but is inclusive. So the only way that can happen is if we're all on the same page. So yes, I think it's most important that in moving forward, we need to understand our agency in this whole affair of Nigeria. It is not only for Asiwaju or for the leaders or the senator. It's also for the people who are in those areas that are being affected. And they need to also be able to interact with their leaders to let them know how they feel. I think democracy is not a destination, it's a journey. And if it's going to take us 32 years to get to where we need to get to, alhamdulillah, because in America, it took them almost 200 years to get to where they are. And look at America today. So I think they still have a lot of work to do. So let's not look at it as a destination, let's look at it as a journey. And how do we engage with government in a way that it becomes a public good and everybody can benefit from it. And I think that's what my father was trying to get across. It wasn't about Abiola. Abiola really never thought he looked at it, Babangida is my friend. He was so, he probably didn't even expect what was going to happen. Nobody goes into something like this thinking this was going to happen. He thought, reason will prevail. But yeah, sometimes it takes a while for you to understand the consequences of decisions that are made. But notwithstanding, as a human, you can make errors. I don't like dwelling on the past, because if I would start looking back, like I said, when I thought this wasn't that serious until at night when I was by myself, and then I started crying. Wow. I just started thinking about every family that lost limbs, people in Nigeria who I never knew, who I've met over the time, who told me, my leg, during the Jutsu struggle. You know, there was a traumatic event that even if you don't have a physical injury, there were some emotional scars that came with that whole saga of the other head of state, Abacha, and then just the brain drain. People who felt that Nigeria will never get better and just left the country and are now doing excellent in other countries where we need those people here. So what I think is most important is we, as a people, and as a people who understand that whatever is good for me is also good for you. It's like what is good for the goose is good for the gander. Well, I'm not trying to. I mean, this world is so large that we need to understand that we are not all going to be here at the same time, and we're looking to make it a better place for my children. So I'm fighting for my father, but now that he has been acknowledged, I'm now fighting for my child to see what I will leave for him. I think that's most important.
Wow.